Are you considering purchasing or selling luxury property in a popular vacation destination anywhere in the world? Well, today in the studio, we have Noah Kirshbaum from Cohana Homes, who has an awesome platform for this. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hello, Marius Mokan with Discover SRQ, and today we have Noah Kirshbaum with Cohana Homes telling us about his amazing product that he has to share with us today. Noah and I kind of go far back, where he actually has one of the puppies from my litter. I have the mom and the dad. We had a litter, and Noah and I are now sort of family. So
We are.
that's kind of how we go. That's how we go back. That's how this relationship started. So Noah is someone that I look up to in the as a real estate professional. He has helped sell homes to my own family members, and I really trust him in that sense as well. So I really like what he has going on with Cohana Homes. So I thought I'd get him on here to do a quick interview with him. Noah, can you please tell us a little bit about Cohana Homes and kind of how people can get involved with this?
Yeah, thank you, Marius. I appreciate it. Yes, our lovely Ziggy came from Marius's dogs, and then we moved on to do some videography work here locally where I live in Oregon, and
Right.
It's been a great pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate the forum here. Yeah, Cohana Homes is what we believe is an innovative and out of the box way of purchasing real estate. It's co-ownership, and we're going to go through the differences between co-ownership and some of the other ways where you can buy shared or partial ownership in real estate. So basically what we do is we bring 2 to 4 owners together. We create an LLC, and the LLC buys a house, and Cohana is the manager, the LLC manager, the property manager, concierge. We help facilitate the vacation experience for people who want to buy shares or portions of real estate. And we're having some great success. We started on Maui. We've got some stuff going on Kauai and in Colorado and in California and in Texas and in Florida. We just signed a few listings in France. I had a great meeting with luxury agents in the EU last week. And so we're talking to folks in Spain and Portugal and areas of the EU where Americans would go and purchase real estate for vacations. It's a growing trend because prices, as we all know, are not going down, but costs are going up. And so even we were just talking this morning here where I work about the economic forecast. And even if we go down our rates go down to about 6%, let's say in 2026, maybe a little bit under 6%, the rates for vacation town homes are going to be about that or more. So what we're suggesting with Cohana Homes is take that money that you were going to put into your vacation home, the down payment money, put it into a 25% share of a home. You'll only pay 25% of the expenses. You'll only pay 25% of the upkeep. You'll use it 25% of the time, and it'll be managed by someone so you don't have to worry about it when you're not at your vacation home. Because what we know is what a lot of people do, especially where we started on Maui, folks will buy a $12 million home. They'll use it for 3 weeks a year, and they'll pay 11 months and 1 week of expenses on top of the 3 weeks that they used it. And there's a constant upkeep and worry and concern. And you're more than likely going to pay for a property manager for that kind of arrangement anyway. So our idea is lowering the costs, using and accessing the home in the same kind of way, and having it managed in a little bit of a different way, where it's not just property management, but it's also curating the experience with things like concierge. And again, we can do this with buyers and sellers. We can do this with sellers and buyers. We can do it with family. We can do it with friends. You could just be randomly jumping in on a home with strangers. It's a very cool idea. We're very excited about it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, Marius. We can chat more.
That's really interesting because I love what you're saying about this, because here in Florida, as you know, we're a seasonal town here in Sarasota. So right now you've got everybody here. The moment the snow falls, everyone's here. I don't even go to the beaches because they're just so packed. And for us, it's cold. For them, it's great, because they're coming from New York.
Yeah,
So this is definitely a good product for this area.
no doubt. And a lot of people would love to access Florida all year round, not necessarily um,
That's true.
you
Yep.
know, just for the winter or just for the, so, in
Hmm.
our model, you would rotate usage and everybody would be able to have an equal amount
Right.
of ways of picking time. And in
Right.
Florida, it's one of those, it's sort of like Hawaii, where I love Maui. I'd go to Maui in December for Christmas. I'd go in the middle of the
Hmm.
summer. I'd go in the fall. I'd
That's
go
true. Yep.
in the spring, and I have never had a bad time, even in the
That's
monsoon
true.
months where maybe there's a hurricane on Tuesday. It's like 80 on Wednesday, and and
Oh
all
yeah.
is good, right?
It can change like that. Yep.
Yeah, and there are a lot of towns where, like, okay, Palm Springs, where maybe it's 120 in August,
Yeah.
and maybe you wouldn't inherently go there, but the truth is, it's 120 everywhere on the West Coast now in August.
That's
And
true.
it isn't like it's any colder in the state of Washington than it is in Palm Springs in August these days. And so you think about, like, well, there might be some places where maybe I wouldn't go in those months, but I think now the truth is people are
Right.
going, to those places because
That's
it's
true.
hot everywhere. So things are changing. Climate is definitely, bringing
Right.
more seasons to all of
And
us theoretically.
yep.
So we
And
get into that.
ever since COVID, you don't notice the difference in traffic here anymore. There used to be, when I first moved here in 2021, there was a distinct season, but now it's just traffic all the time. So I totally
Yeah,
get what you're saying. You can also buy much more home than you can on your own. So you bring in these partners that you own the home together with. And instead of, being able to buy $1 million property, you can now buy a $4 million property. And now you've got a much better vacation home, a better asset. And I think that it's a good sort of way to even invest in luxury properties.
no doubt. And like, look, if you had $1 million where you were going to put into a house, you might still not do that because HOA fees are exhaustive. You have
Hmm.
taxes are kind of out of control. You have a lot of different costs that go into that
Yeah.
$4 million home, and you go, wow, I have $1 million, isn't that great? But if it's $1 million and then it's $200,000
Yeah.
a year to maintain it, that gets prohibitive. I can. My sister and my brother-in-law are a great example. They bought a house in a really amazing area, and they would have loved to have kept it, but their kids grew up. They don't come to that vacation town as much anymore. Didn't make sense to
Yeah.
spend 200,000 or whatever it was in dues and fees every year. But if you could break that up into four, I bet you they would have stayed in that house and they would have kept that because probably 25% of that is probably slightly more affordable. So yeah, it's a
It's
great
very
way to
creative.
invest in real estate, to have a potential return on your investment at the end of that process. And we're going to get to what I mean by the end, because our clients sell the vacation
Right.
at one point. But yeah, it's a great way to have a return on your investment and use the property.
And I know plenty of people that I talk to, because I know a lot of people here that own luxury vacation rental properties, and they have people that have been coming down for 20 years and they rent the same house every year,
Right.
and they're paying all that money, 10,000 plus for the week or whatever it is. And that's a huge chunk of change to not own it.
It's crazy. I mean, right before we went on, I told you about someone we've been working with in Kauai, and every year he spends $90,000 bringing the whole family to Kauai for a month.
Yeah.
And if you add that up, they've been doing it for several years. That's
Right.
that's the entire cost of it. They could have bought a $4 million home with all that money.
Yeah.
And so he loves our idea. We're just looking for
Hmm.
the right home for him, because if he can lock in when he wants to come, or when his family generally wants to come to Kauai, and he can also have additional dates during the year. And he's not spending $95,000 a year. He's maybe spending $30,000 or $40,000 a year with the potential of getting that back when we sell the home. It's a much better. I mean, what I've learned in the couple of years we've been doing this now for a little bit over 2 years, that what I've learned is that rich people are not dumb, right? Yeah. People that have a lot of money are generally smart people who earned that money and they know what to do with it. And so we're pending on a home, for example, on Kauai right now. Very, very, very successful people because they want to access this gated community. And now they can afford to pay the dues for the golf membership, for the club membership, and they're only for 2 months a year anyway. So the model makes perfect. Yeah.
And these golf memberships aren't $10,000. They're like 100,000.
No, this one was 150,000 to join.
150,000. All right.
Plus, you still have to pay. Yeah. You still have to pay for things when you're there. So,
what's the HOA, like $1,000 a month or more? Right.
That one was more like a couple $1,000s a month. But you also get. You also have it's a gated. You have many different amenities. I think it was $2,100 a month for that one, a little bit under $2,100 a month. But you have security on site. Security, it's gated. You have meeting rooms and walking paths, and it's like it's Hawaii, so the landscaping is elaborate, and there's a lot of maintenance.
Right.
So, there are a lot of HOAs that aren't worth it. I think that one actually is worth it, but that one also it's going to be $150,000 for that one to be a member of the club. And again, these are wonderful amenities, but there's a limited amount of people that have $300,000, to do that. So the idea would be, okay, you want to be on Kauai. How much money do you have? How much time do you spend there? And we can go out there and find either a seller who is willing to take you on as a partner, or find you other partners who'll be willing to spend that exact amount of money on a home on Kauai.
Exactly. Now that you mentioned that, how does that LLC get formed between 2 to 4 individuals?
It's a good question. We're doing it right now. So, I'm in the middle of putting this together, so it's fresh. We find the owners, which could, by the way, could be family, they could be friends, they could be strangers. So you have the 4. Let's say you have a family of 4 entities that all want to go in together and buy a house. That's the easy one. Let's figure that. We'll start with that one. So we would come together with the family. We have a boilerplate LLC and operating agreements and membership agreements. And we present that to the group. Everybody will take it to their representative or read through it on their own, give us feedback, ask for changes. We'll incorporate all those changes that, are based on either something we can actually do or assuming that the entire group is in favor of it. If it's a request that seems out of the box and the other owners are not into it, we may not add that, like a specific provision. But in general, so far, we give the agreements to people. They come back to us with things they want to change. We go back to our lawyer. We incorporate those into the documents. We all come to agreement on these documents. Everybody knows what they're getting into at the beginning. And then we sign those documents, and then we write an offer to the seller under the name of the LLC. So let's say it's 123 Main Street LLC. That LLC will write an offer. We'll do inspections, appraisals if necessary, the whole regular way of buying a home, and then we will close. So far, we are working with cash. It's very difficult for 4 strangers in an LLC to get a loan together. It's somewhat easier for people who know each other to go get a loan. LLCs get loans all the time, but it is more complicated. We're asking for cash, but if someone if an entity can get a loan of some sort and buy a home with us, we're perfectly happy to do that. It adds a layer of default to the process if you add a loan to this. And that's one of the reasons why we like to stick with cash. But again, we're open to whatever works for the formed LLC. And then once the process appears that we are going to close on this home, then we go through the process of choosing the time. And every year, probably around October, November, we will get together and we will choose the time for the next year. And it works sort of like a fantasy football draft. If you were the first reservation, you get the first pick, second, third, fourth, and then we rotate 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we do that until the year is booked.
Keep it fair.
When we do that process, we come up with during the LLC document process, we're figuring out the usage of the group. So let's say it's 2-week increments. Everybody will pick 2 weeks. They'll go on to the next one. And then the year will be filled out. Cohana Homes has a calendar program that we use. The home will get a calendar. Every owner will get a calendar, and we help manage that process. And then we start to use it.
You know what I love about this? Everybody thinks that going in on a property with family is such a great idea, but not always the case, right?
No.
You have to still.
We always say we want you to stay family.
Yeah.
We want you to stay friends.
So it's good to get someone like you involved, write everything up, keep everything, official. And in between people going in and using the property, you guys make it go in, you guys go send someone in and make it pristine for the next guy.
Yep.
And there's nobody arguing about, oh, we left this nice, why is this broken, this, that, right? Everything is maintained for the next person. Nobody's fighting. Everyone's
by the way,
happy.
There may be an issue where something breaks and it carries over to the next owner, but our job is to make it right for whatever situation that is. That's our job.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll be able to do it. I think that there will be, every situation in life, there are situations that don't go right, but a good management company is really what you need. And imagine if you had 4 owners and it was self-managed and then just one owner was constantly breaking things. I mean, you'd think.
And then the other one was constantly replacing things, right?
You'd think that there'd be a mutiny amongst the owners, but in our model, we're the middle person. Our job is to make sure that there is no mutiny, that everybody's happy with what's going on, and that if someone isn't happy, that they're made right as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Okay, so I buy into this program. I find a great property on Siesta Key that me and my family love to vacation at, but then we just want to get out of it. What's the exit strategy?
Great question. That I think is what separates us from a lot of these companies. And this also might be a good time to throw in the difference between fractional and co-ownership, which is what we do, because it all kind of ties into each other. Timeshare is where you give an entity money and then you use a facility or a property or a bunch of properties, but they own it and you pay for access. There's no upside, there's no ROI, there's no ownership. Fractional is where a home has a deed and that deed is broken up into fractions and you own a fraction that you can flip anytime you want. And historically, there are fractions that make money, but less than if you bought an entire home and you use the entire home. And again, often it's hard to sell a fraction. It's easier to sell a whole home. It's harder to sell a fraction. So in co-ownership, you own a portion of the home through an LLC. And when we sell, which at the beginning of the formation of the LLC, when we choose the increments, we choose the duration of the contract. And the LLC owns the home for the entirety of that duration. And when
what's the normal time frame?
Normal right now we're pitching is in between 5 to 8 years. 8 years is the average home ownership, vacation home ownership.
But it could be regular primary ownership. It's about that too.
I just learned today that primary is up to 11. Interestingly,
wow, it went up.
But it did, and vacation home ownership is still around 8. So we're pitching 5 to 8. And I say to people, if you have commitment issues, this might not be the model for you. That maybe more of a fractional model might be better for you because you're committed to the time. So that for 2 reasons. One, if you break up the deed into fractions, you it's harder for you to make money. Number
Mhm.
two, we as a company are not allowed to sell securities. And once you break up ownership in an LLC and you sell a portion of an LLC, you are now engaging in a security, which we're not allowed to do. So we're
Right.
not going to do that. There are ways to switch out partnerships in terms of, death, in terms of bankruptcy. There are ways that it's possible to change an owner in and out and to do something a little bit different. But generally, if you are, you're committed to the exit strategy. So what's cool about this is you could say, well, I am a person with commitment issues and I want to do this for 3 years because I might want to get out quicker and I can see myself doing this. So great. So come to us and we will look for a group of owners who also want to do this for 3 years, and you'll buy a house together and you'll do it for 3 years. Then we can see what happens at the end of 3 years. And maybe you'd want to stay. But once you're in to a contract, the goal is to stay in and to earn that return at the end. And of course, in our agreements, we have provisions for default or death or bankruptcy or those sorts of things.
Exactly.
And as we get down the road with a client, we're happy to share what those things are. But again, generally, it's form an LLC, LLC buys a home, LLC uses the home, and then sells the whole home with the idea of a return.
Right. And equity is it's a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you want to hold on to that, I would say, for at least 10 years. So that way you can at least just possibly optimize the money you get back. So
No
I can
doubt.
see that. But that's not everybody's goal, right? So you guys sit down and kind of figure out people's goals. Cause like you said, someone might want a 3-year plan and there are other people that might fit that bill. So at that point, it's like you're a matchmaker, right?
I was actually just going to say the same thing. In the end, we actually used to have that term on our website. I think we removed that for some reason, but we are essentially a real estate matchmaking company when you really think about it.
No, for sure.
And
Exactly.
by the way, our goal is clients who want to work with us and do that. We were put a group in a state was put in front of us, and they keep coming back to us with the idea of self-managing. And we think that's wonderful. So we keep saying to them, yeah, it sounds great. If you guys want to go back and, self-manage and do your own thing, we're perfectly, happy to assist in any way that we can. My guess is that if they are able to get 50% of their LLC filled with strangers, that we're going to get a call from them at some point to help them manage that relationship, because
It's not easy.
hard. It's hard. And anybody who has had multiple partners in a home will tell you that it's hard. So yeah, so it's our job is to try to make the experience easier for our clients, and it's starting to resonate.
Right. So I look at this as a great opportunity for buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
luxury real estate sitting on the market with the high interest rates. They're becoming more out of reach for the average person. So if you have a property sitting on the market and you want to look for a creative solution, I think you should talk to Noah.
Thank you. And I'll give you an example. We're working in an area near Winter Park, Colorado, and there was a home that was listed as 50% ownership. It was a little bit further away from where we wanted to be, so it wasn't on my radar, but close enough. So a friend of mine who we're working with in this area sent it to me, and I looked at the history, and the agent that was listing it was Redfin, and I think it'd been on the market for almost a year at 1.25 or something like that. She then had it as a 50% ownership, which meant that the seller was staying on and keeping 50%. So my guess is that the seller needed to do two things: needed to pay off the loan and needed to get stop making that payment, and also maybe needed a little bit of cash. So what they decided to do, which was genius, is they listed it as a 50% ownership, and they sold it. They're now pending 50-50 ownership. And they're going to self-manage each other and do 50% ownership in exchange time. And it's, it's a smart move to do where this house is. It's really far out and it's going to be perfect for 50-50, and it's going to be perfect for self-management because I'm not exactly sure how many property managers want to go out there anyway and work at that property. But think about that. The seller listed it on the open market for almost a year and didn't sell it and didn't go pending, and went pending in like a month as a 50% owner. So that,
it's a creative solution for a problem.
Creative thing for this seller to think about doing. And, we'll see how it goes with the self-management and how long they do it. My hope for them, if they end up doing self-management, is that they really have solid LLC documents that lay out what happens if they start to hate each other. Or God forbid, what happens if there's a fire or a disaster or something. And,
right
there again, I'm obviously self-serving. I own a co-ownership company. I want people to work with me. I also am just being honest that in the world of doing this, when I talk to people that have been self-managing for a very long time, the thing that keeps them up at night is the stuff that we would handle. So that's why I think you hire a company like ours.
It's not worth it. I mean, it's such a nightmare to have to worry about this stuff. Just leave it to the professionals who do it every day, right?
That's right. Especially if it's over an ocean. I mean,
yeah, right here, right? We
unless you're
had
Aquaman, it's pretty hard to get
yeah
from mainland to Hawaii quickly,
yeah
and by the way, it's difficult from, New York to Sarasota, or Atlanta to Sarasota, or whatever, Dallas to Sarasota. I mean, there's no easy way to get there. You got to jump on a plane or you got to drive, and it's like the toilet breaks. You want someone to be there.
It's a home watching thing as well, so protects the asset, because I'm talking to a lot of people that work for high-end builders on the island, on these barrier islands like Siesta Key, Lido Key, Anna Maria Island, all of these luxury locations. And a lot of these guys that are building these $10 million properties are now starting to offer like a home watching
That's right.
division. To the builders are going to build your house, and then after that they pitch you on, hey, we'll be over here, we're going to keep things pressure washed, we're going to winterize your house, we're going to make sure no pipes burst while you're gone or whatnot. You got eyes on the property. So people are doing that anyways. There's a huge market for home watching businesses here.
Yes.
I know people that are watching there. I know people that are making a very good living off of just that type of business.
Well, and again, that's our job, right? And our goal is to partner with those types of people in places like Sarasota, so that we're bringing economy to the community in many different ways. Not only owners who are going to eat at the restaurants and shop at the stores and go to the movie theaters and all that kind of stuff, but caretakers who are looking for opportunity and looking for a job. Our goal is to incorporate those local people in all these markets so that we have a boots on the ground who knows the area, and that we bring value to not only the owners, but to the community itself. Yeah,
exactly. Now, the people that I think that should contact you are buyers, sellers, but also realtors that work in luxury markets, because now that it's a little bit harder to sell these properties, and it's starting to make a lot more sense for people to own just the amount that they use. So if you're only going to use it a quarter of the year, why not just pay for what you're using?
You can do this in multiple places, right? That's the other cool part, is that you don't just have to do it in one place. You can do it in multiple places, and wherever you go, it'll be the same setup. Sellers who are interested in working with us have reached out. Buyers who are interested in working with us have reached out. And yes, real estate agents who not only have lingering listings and they want something creative, but agents who can bring this value to their sellers, or can bring this idea to their buyers, are going to be very much appreciated. Because, it's like, look, if you work working with someone for a year on buying a vacation home and they just keep missing out, this is an idea where they don't have to miss out. They can use the same amount of money they've been trying to buy with, and they don't have any debt, and they use it the same amount of way. And they're going to love that idea. And like I said, I'll circle it back to here at the end, and I'll say, your clients aren't dumb. They're going to love the idea that you came up with a way for them to not have debt and to spend less money. They're going to really appreciate that. And if you're a listing agent, your seller is going to love outside of the box thinking, an extra data, an additional database of 25,000 people to market to that no one else in the area necessarily is using.
Exactly.
But also, you know, you might bring them an idea they hadn't thought of, and there's not a seller out in the world that isn't psyched when their agent does that.
Yeah, because they don't care where they're selling the property to. I mean,
they keep it.
LLCs buy properties all the time. It's no different.
That's right.
It doesn't matter if there's an HOA. It doesn't matter. And that was the other thing that we were talking about earlier, off camera, is how it's really getting hard for Airbnb to operate, as counties and HOAs don't want them, and they're kind of dwindling now. As they get more and more banned in more areas, then you're going to be left with hotels. And
hotels are great, but they're getting more and more expensive too, and they're giving you less and less. Nobody loves their hotel more than me. Trust me, I love hotels. I love hotel rooms. I love them.
Right.
What I'm noticing though is you're paying more and more, and you're getting less and less. I mean, we had some family that stayed at the Ritz here, this new one where we live, and it's a wonderful hotel. They're so nice to you. It's really nice. They did a great job, but they didn't even have like Doritos in the room. I mean, it used to be in a hotel, you'd almost have like a refrigerator full of stuff. They don't give you anything. I mean, so you have
it forces you to go out to eat,
and it's forcing you to go out and do something. And you know, so in this case, it's your space. It's the way you want it. It's curated to your needs. And if you go to a place for a month every year, and you're going to rack up hotel fees, and you actually don't get that investment back financially. Obviously, if you're having a good time, you get that emotional value back, and that emotional investment. But in terms of return on your actual dollars investment, this is a much better play than accessing hotels long term. And look, hotels are doing this. There are major hotels all over the world where they have a fractional, or they have a thing, they have a similar thing. It's the unique part is that if you own a portion of the LLC, you have the upside potential, and it's more of a boutique experience.
Well, the Ritz over here has their own condos.
Right, exactly.
They have their own, and you're paying massive HOAs. You're getting nothing.
Massive. Yeah. Oh yeah, the one here is, it's 1.5 to 4 million, and I know you have a huge HOA, and I love that place, and I think it's really, the values are there. It's the extra cost that maybe aren't, right? And the fact that if you're not going to live at the Ritz downtown here full time, that's a very expensive purchase, So if you could break it up into 25% shares and you only have to pay 25% of the expenses, I think it becomes more reasonable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Noah, thank you so much for your time and joining me here today.
Thank you, Marius. And if you leave this in, I appreciate the time and you for letting me do this. And again, we are currently working in towns in Florida, and we're working in markets that feed into towns in Florida and vice versa. So it's CohanaHomes.com, and there's a way to fill out a card to come straight to my cell phone, and I'll be giving you a call back.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. If you or anyone you know have any questions about buying or selling property in Florida, please give me a call, text, or email. I'd love to talk to you.